Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Andrea, and today I have a new series for you that I'm calling Pitch or Pan. I'm going to be taking different categories of makeup items and deciding whether I want to pitch them by decluttering or giving them away, or throwing them away, just getting them out of my collection, or if I want to pan them. And when I say pan, I mean like pan them in 2021, not keep them for, I don't know, 2 more years and then decide to pan them. This is stuff that if I decide to pan it, it's getting panned in 2021 or it's gonna go in the garbage. So I decided that my first category was going to be the Colourpop Jelly Matte shadows because I think everyone knows how notorious they are for drying out extremely quickly, and the ones I have are no exception. So I decided I was going to sit down and swatch them out and see if I could find dupes in my collection, whether it be another single or in a palette, and then decide whether I wanted to go through the hassle of trying to reconstitute it or whether I was going to throw it out. I have 7 Jelly Matte shadows, and I have found, if not exact spot on dupes for all of them, I found close enough dupes for them. So I'm gonna start with this first shade is Crystal Castle, and I think you'll be able to see exactly how dried out that is, because that's not how this is supposed to look, but and see how dry and flaky that is. That's not how it's supposed to look. There is a swatch. It's a very sheer white, like white base with that purpley pink. Maybe you can see it on my, oh, that's finger stained, but with the purpley kind of pink shift in it. And I found 2 dupes in my collection. One is mostly similar, and then the other one I feel is pretty much a spot on dupe. So the first dupe that I found is this shade Dinner Party. It is an Ulta Beauty single. And you can see, maybe, it's very close. It's not quite as shimmery. Like Crystal Castle has a bit more like of an orangey pink, and this is a little cooler. But the other dupe I found, I feel like, is pretty spot on. But I feel like the other dupe that I found is pretty spot on, and that comes from my ABH Subculture palette, and it is the shade Cube. And you can kind of, I mean, everybody knows what this shade looks like, but this definitely has a little bit more of the pinky purple as opposed. So I swatched Cube up here. Here is Cube. There's the Colourpop Crystal Castle, and there is the Ulta Dinner Party. So as you can see, like, while this is close, Cube and Crystal Castle are exactly the same. So since I have a shade that is exactly the same, I don't feel the need to keep this or try to reconstitute it. So this is getting pitched. The second shade I have is this Jelly Matte shadow in the shade I Own You, which is from the Villains collection. And once again, it is completely dried out. Like, there's just no moisture left in this whatsoever. It's one of those kind of like reddy pink with orange shift shades. So there you can see it there. And the closest dupe I found was actually my Colourpop Super Shock shadow in Arrow, which, if you've watched my Pan Those Eyeshadows videos, you know that it's in that project. But you can see, like, If this wasn't so dried out, it would look like that. So once again, I've found a dupe, and this shade, this Jelly Much Shadow in the shade I Own You, is getting pitched. The next Jelly Much Shadow also comes from the Villains collection. It is this shade Spindle, which once again is completely dried up. It's not supposed to be loose in there like that. So this one, okay, I won't say it's completely dried up because it still has, I feel like there's still a little bit of moisture in there. The texture isn't quite as dry as the Crystal Castle or the I Own You shades, but it's still definitely not at its optimal texture. I am swatching these like the wrong way. So there is that shade. And I did find actually what I think is a pretty close dupe. Oh my gosh, I'm just getting flakes everywhere. I found a pretty close dupe in one of my loose glitters from Sparkly's Glitter and Gloss in the shade Spore Swarm. So before I swatch that, I'm actually going to put a little bit of glitter glue on my arm, just because otherwise it's not really gonna stick or show up. This is very precarious. I'm a little nervous about doing this right over my laptop. Now the base isn't, I mean, this is just a loose glitter, so it doesn't really have a base. So this has, the Spindle shade has kind of like a, I would say like a blackened purpley base. But if you look at the glitter shift, like that's the same. So once again, I don't think this is unique enough in my collection, since I did find something extremely similar. I don't think this is unique enough for me to try and save it. So this is also getting pitched. Next is the Jelly Much Shadow in Fly the Coop. This was actually in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project at the very beginning of the year. I believe this was part of the Bye Bye Birdie collection. Once again, crumbly and super dried out. I'm kind of afraid to even swatch this because of how crumbly it is, and I'm just getting stuff everywhere, so. Now this is one of the ones where I didn't find an extreme, like dead on dupe for, but I found something very close. This is a Profusion Metallic Liquid Eyeshadow in the shade Sienna. And while it doesn't have some of these like little, let's see if I can swatch this any better. It doesn't have some of those micro holographic glitter shades or particles. Like that base shade is dead on. And I don't feel like the little shimmers in this is enough for me to keep it and try to make it work. So everybody say it with me. This one is getting pitched. I have 3 more. This is again one of the shadows from the Disney Villains collection. This is Not Today. It's a beautiful like, dark forest green with some holographic glitter in it. And it's because of that glitter that, again, I didn't find an exact dupe insofar as a green that's got the glitter in it, but I found 2 shades that I feel the base colors are very similar. And I mean, you can always just add glitter on top of a look. So the first one is this Copacetic Cosmetic Single in Arashiyama. And there you can see the two. And while some of on camera, they might not look as close, but part of it is because these shadows are so dried out, like they're not as vibrant as they normally would be. So you kind of have to use your imagination a little bit. The second shade is, these don't have names, but this is just the green shadow from this I Heart Revolution Mermaid's Heart palette. And again, it's just like a very dark foresty green. So this is the 5th Jelly Much shadow that I'm gonna pitch. This next one, I actually found 3 pretty comparable dupes. I don't think any of them are 100% spot on, but they're close enough. This is, again, a shadow from the Villains collection in Perfectly Wretched. It's like a pinky champagne color, and again, it is totally dried out. This is, even though it's dried out, it's not quite as dried out as some of the other ones. This is more of like, I think, a topper shade anyway, but you can see it right there. So first, from the Misunderstood palette, this shade, oops, I just dug my finger into the white. This shade Mongrels is very close. I feel like Mongrels has a touch more rose gold in it. It's a little bit warmer, a little bit pinker. Then the next shade actually comes from my Pure and Raw Beauty Christie palette, and it's this shade Cafe Disco, the like spimmery metallic shade on the colorful side of the palette. Now this is a little icier, a little cooler pink, but still very similar vibes. And then the last one is this, what is this called? The Lustrous Foil Eyeshadow from Ulta. This is the shade Silver Leaf. Okay, and I'm gonna maybe embarrass myself, but when I was swatching these things out, I was going like this. I was trying to pick a product up, and I'm like, wow, that's really like kind of wet and plasticky feeling. That's because there's a little lid there and I didn't realize it, and I was trying to swatch the lid. So that's my embarrassing story for the day. But this, I think this is probably the closest of all of them. So like I said, not 100%, none of these are a 100% dupe, but that's 3 shades that are so similar that on the eye, you're really not going to be able to tell much of a difference. So this is Jelly Much shadow number 6 that I'm going to pitch, which means we're down to 1 more shadow, and this is Hoot and Holler, which was also part of the Bye Bye Birdie collection, I believe. And this one, it's not as dried out as some of the others. It's still definitely not the same texture, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna swatch it on the inside of my arm. It's like this beautiful coppery color, and I did not find any dupes for this. I did not look for any dupes for this because when I swatched it, I figured this is the one that has the most potential to still be used. I decided I'm going to keep this one Jelly Much shadow. I'm going to pan it in 2021, and hopefully I might try adding some oil or eye drops or whatever. I might try to reconstitute this a little bit, but out of my 7 Jelly Mutt shadows, this is the only one that I'm going to try and pan, and that I'm actually going to keep, and the rest are going in the garbage. So that was my very first pitch or pan. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to do a series like this, I would love to see it. So let me know down below if you think this is something that you might want to do on your channel so I can come check it out. And I hope you're staying safe and sane and healthy, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.